Well, welcome back, everyone. You know there's a new historical thriller that can be streamed, and it's getting lots of good reviews, but we're going to see what Bart and Jennifer Mills, our local movie reviewers, think of September 5th. So welcome, Bart and Jen.
Good morning.
All right, so this movie takes us back into, I guess, back in time, right?
Right. So this is a docudrama about the 1972 hostage situation at the Summer Olympics in Munich, where the Israeli team was taken hostage. And basically this movie is showing how the American sports broadcasting team completely revamped what they were doing in order to broadcast this entire event live.
Yeah, so when I watched the trailer for this movie, it really did take, it's kind of like just took me back in time. I mean, it looked like it was happening back in, what was it, 1970 something?
Yeah, this is 72, so it was not before I was born, but, you know, probably before you were born. But for a lot of us, you know, this was a really historic moment in time, and really, this is one of the fun parts of this, if you can say there's fun parts, because it's a tragic story, but the fun parts is watching how journalism was done back then. You forget, especially you as a TV journalist, those of us who are recovering, you know, reporters, it's amazing to watch how they did the job in the day. And that wasn't that long ago, but still the size of the cameras, the way they did, you know, they did subs and chyrons and everything else is just kind of, it's fascinating. So it's a good journalism.
Well, people forget how we had to do things back then. I mean, they would be running over with film reels, and then they would have to produce those film reels in a darkroom right there. And they didn't have any way to do captioning. So they would have tiny little tiles that they would be putting on a board that then would be overlaid on the screen for captioning. I mean, it's just things that you completely forget that we had to do back then.
Yeah, you make me feel guilty that I have it so easy nowadays.
You do. You don't even know. You're just a pretty face on the camera.
All right, so I'm going to give you a one critic's what he said, okay? So he said, you can practically feel the panic sweat trickling down the back of your own neck while watching this movie.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and this is Peter Sarsgaard, so he always looks a little sweaty anyway. But it is, I mean, it's just, you know, the idea that this was, historically, this was a sports broadcasting group. These are not people that, as we know, we take seriously as broadcasters, or at least we never used to, and now we don't really much anymore either. But so they weren't the news team. This was the sports team, and they took this story, and it goes everything from the fact that at the time, there was one satellite that all the networks had to use. So they actually had to, you know, negotiate to use their time for the satellite. And they had to really go to war with their own division to see who would keep in charge of the story. And they had to sneak reporters in because the German police were, you know, trying to protect the area. And then there's a lot of the politics of it, because this is 27 years after World War II, and the Germans are very sensitive, particularly because these were Jewish victims here. They were very sensitive about how things were handled, and so there's a lot of back and forth. It's a fascinating story. It's a huge story, but it's a very small movie, and it's probably about a half a dozen actors, and mostly shot in a couple of rooms, and it is tense and
yeah. There was one part of the movie where I literally caught myself on the edge of my couch, just like leaning in, just not sure what was going to happen next. It's very tense.
Yeah. So when you said you know you're at the edge of your couch, this is streaming, so you can actually watch it on like Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, and some more.
Yeah, this is actually it's in a few theaters. It was released very odd, so it was another one sort of like Sing Sing, one of these Oscar-worthy movies that, you know, they didn't really release it wide. It came out sort of very much at the end of last year, and so it got sort of trickled out to places. But now it's available video on demand. It is up for, I think, 2 Oscars. And so there's, you can watch it on pretty much any of your streaming services, or, seriously, if you need to wait a couple of months, it'll probably show up on HBO or something like that.
Yeah. So this movie is rated R. It's also an hour and 31 minutes, and I'm going right to my favorite website, Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90% audience approval rating, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good. I'm surprised. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't usually like serious stuff, but this is actually no question about it, a worthy movie.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, let's go to the reveal. Are we giving it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or just somewhere in the middle?
2 big thumbs up from me.
Yeah, same for me. I think it's, again, part of it is the history of it. Part of it's just the pure filmmaking of it. And the other part of it is, again, if you love a good journalism movie, and there aren't enough of those, or if you need to be reminded about the real value that journalists played in our world at one point and still could if they just got their stuff together, it's well worth watching.
All right, so we're going to have to go out and stream September the 5th. Bart and Jen, thanks so much for coming out today. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, well, don't go away because we have more when we return.